all-new burn barrel. Huh?
Is it the all-new burn barrel?
I don't know.
I think it's the same old burn barrel.
We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know, Albie. We may have to eventually abandon this song when we make any changes, which we might make, by the way. Depending. We've just found out. So let's do the housekeeping first, and then we get to the stuff. No, you know what? I'm going to do a little bit of meat, and then we're going to do the housekeeping.
Okay.
But it's related. So part of the housekeeping we're going to do is take the trash out after we're done consuming the things that we consume.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Go.
You think I have enough time to unbreak the show so far?
I
just want to bring up this thing. This is pure. You don't know probably, Alice, but A.G. Tong the Connecticut Attorney General is William Tong, and he is one of these one of these guy who's attracted to the warmth of the TV camera as much as possible. He was a state rep, and now he's on the ascent. He's on the up and up, and so he wants to sue Twitter, and he's going after Instagram, and he's whatever's popular at that moment. He's on top of it. He'll find it. He will find his way in front of the camera, no matter what it takes. So today he's standing in front of the camera at the podium with a box of hefty recycling trash bags. He is on the case. He is not going to let this happen. And here is the news item.
Connecticut Attorney General William Tong is suing the maker of hefty trash bags. News 8's Rich Capola joins us live with more on what Tong calls false advertising. Rich.
Well, Darren, turns out those hefty recycling bags aren't actually recyclable. This, according to Tong, who added they're no more recyclable than any other hefty garbage bag product. Tong said that any recyclable items placed inside the bags can't be effectively recycled and are diverted to the waste stream for disposal. He said Reynolds deceived Connecticut families and undermined our recycling systems. The lawsuit, Tong says, seeks to hold Reynolds accountable for these intentional misrepresentations.
The problem is that these bags are not recyclable, not just in Connecticut, but as far as we can tell, anywhere in this country. The problem with this packaging and this box is that consumers like the Tong family in Stamford are going to buy these bags, put recyclables in the bags, put it into the stream of recycling, and not only the bags, but what's in the bags will not get recycled.
Okay, so he's up there with his suit and his $1,000 smile, and he's showing everybody. Guess what word does not appear on the box of bags?
Recyclable?
Correct. It never claims to be recyclable.
They're just bags that say recycling on them or something, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. They're translucent. You can see through them. So if you want something to hold your cans in or whatever because you throw your cans in the kitchen into something else, that's what you would do.
Right.
Now, the problem is that the Tong family will throw those out with the trash, and they're not going to be recycled. Well, that's the Tong family's problem.
Yeah, find out what's recyclable and then don't recycle things that don't meet the requirements.
But
I don't know.
This is just so typical. I mean, this is a low-level, just a whorish thing to be doing. He obviously looked around. There is a class action lawsuit, not surprisingly, in the country about this. So he looked around at classactionlawsuits.net and said, what can I do this week to get onto the cameras? And because he's just an ambulance chasing lawyer of a different kind, this is what we've got. And these people ruin things. So now, probably will have to make some changes in the perfectly good bag that works for everybody, because there are bottom-feeding scumbags out there. Will now have to change something. Because an AG wants to make new rules and just sweat people. And this is not... Tong didn't invent this. AGs everywhere are political climbers. That's what they do. They're not in it to be attorney generaling. That's not why they do the job. They do the job to get in front of the camera. It's a good way to a Senate seat or a governor's seat. That's what precisely this is. And this is just a campaign stop, really.
Yeah, and I mean, every state is doing dumb things like this, and the federal government does this as well. I saw a thing the FDA is trying once again. They try this every few years to go after almond milk producers for calling their product milk, even though nut milks have existed forever and people have always called them that. They need to change the labeling because it's very confusing to consumers who go to the store and think the almond milk comes from a cow. Colorado just imposed. Have you heard about this at all?
I don't know yet, Alice.
Well, this is a big deal when we're talking about supply chain problems and everything else. Colorado just decided that in order to maintain their roads better, they're going to start imposing special new delivery fees on anyone who delivers any product in the state of Colorado. So if you're like an internet retailer, if you sell things online, you now have to, by July 1st, so there's 2 weeks between now and when this goes into effect. Every online retailer needs to charge every customer. They can't just eat the fee. They need to charge every customer a 27-cent delivery fee to deliver the goods, which of course has huge logistical problems in every big organization that they have to figure out how to now change all their operations for, just the state of Colorado. And that's what this type of thing is. When you have like A.G. Tong in Connecticut sitting here coming up with causing problems for businesses.
Right.
Whose side can I be a thorn in this week? Who can I cause a problem for? Which business
and it's useless.
is out there whose life isn't difficult enough yet?
And all it's going to do is hurt consumers who don't have a problem whatsoever. This is not an issue, and I don't know where it's an issue. And Connecticut now has a new truck tax as well. So now trucks, because they hurt the roads more, are hurting the roads more. There's a new Connecticut surcharge on trucks over 18 feet or whatever it is. And now, how do you think trucks are doing right now? There's a new diesel tax. It just kicks in Monday, July 1st as well. I mean, gas prices are already through the roof, but you're sticking it more and more. This absolutely shows you how cancerous government is.
Yeah, and they do things in such a way that they tie their own hands so they can't undo them. A month or so ago, it was a big story in Maryland that they had done what Massachusetts tried to do years ago and index the gas tax to inflation. Well, obviously this year that means the gas tax is going up a lot. So it went from, I forget exactly what the numbers are. It was like 30-something cents to 40-something cents this year. It went up by like 9 cents a gallon just this year. And they're all going like, is there any way to stop it? We can't do anything. Nobody can undo it. It's impossible. Like nobody can figure out how to stop the gas tax from going up.
And the index is great too, because now it's just happening. There's no vote making it happen. It's not the evil legislature, which is by design, of course.
Of course. So, everything the government does always backfires, turns out wrong, makes lives difficult, in businesses, for consumers, for everybody. Just everything they do all the time just makes your life worse. It's incredible, the things that they do.
Okay, so now that we've taken out the trash, let's talk about our housekeeping stuff that we have to get done here.
Yes.
One, Alice is 18 videos behind on uploading videos. I have heard many complaints. There isn't a friend I've ever had or known who hasn't let me know now that
less
the
than
video isn't up.
5% of our listeners
Don't
are on
devalue,
YouTube.
Don't you dare! Don't
I love them. I
people.
love the 5%.
How dare you?
They're a great 5% of people. I'm
Look
not
at you,
devaluing them.
Jen
I'm just
Psaki.
saying.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just saying. 95% of our listeners have not had a service interruption.
It's the great YouTube crisis of 2022, says Alice Saki. Oh my God, what a bitch.
It's just, I'm sorry. I apologize. It is my fault. I have had to go into the office for work this week. I have been there 10 hours a day this week, not including the commute. So I have been.
Oh, you are such a progressive. Now you're taking the soccer dive. I'm being attacked.
I'm just behind.
Alice
I'm sorry. I will
Lorenz
stay
is
up
sick
late.
of being
I will
attacked.
stay up late tonight and put up all the videos because I love you 5%ers.
Felicia Shattuck-Nez, you are shameless, Alice.
Sorry.
You are shameless.
I apologize.
That is vicious. All right.
Sorry.
And what's the other? Oh, the other thing is that I screwed
Tom screwed our Patreon listeners.
Like that guy in California who gave away the gas for 69 cents instead of $6.95. I gave away the Patreon thing to the non-Patreon, our normal tier folks who just who subscribe to the podcast. Got the special version
with
this
the
weekend.
Patreon show.
That's right. You know why I respect all of them?
Nobody told us.
Exactly.
You know who told me?
Who?
Our son, who listens to the
Really?
podcast. He said, "Why is the podcast so long this week?"
Oh, that is interesting. So yeah, so that's right. So we will do an extra Patreon
Tomorrow night, maybe?
maybe not tomorrow night, but maybe Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
Okay.
One of those days.
Normally, Sunday, we do the extra one anyway.
Oh, right. Okay. So Friday or Saturday. Or maybe
Okay.
tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe.
We'll play it by ear. How about that?
Maybe I'll do it without you. You know?
No, you
Since
can't
we don't do
do-
video anymore anyway, apparently.
We do video. I'm recording the videos. I just have not had time to process and upload them.
Okay. So what else? Was that the housekeeping?
I think that was all the housekeeping.
All right.
Oh, the other thing you wanted to say about if you're looking for older episodes, too.
Oh, right. So we now have a problem with SoundCloud, who we've been on since the very beginning. I used to use in Herald Radio. They had a standout, like, really good player. People told me when I first started this podcast that it's probably not the best place to start. It's not really a standard place to have an RSS feed come out of. But so we use it. That's where the source is. The original upload
That's
is to
the host,
SoundCloud,
yeah.
and from there the RSS feed goes out to iTunes and all that stuff. So we've been. You guys have a bunch of you reached out and said you'd want to listen to old episodes, and like the first 35 or so are missing or whatever. And what happens is we didn't know this. I had no idea that SoundCloud, once you get to 500 or 450. 450, that's all they give you, and in the feed, so they start overwriting the first ones.
Yeah, the old ones stopped showing up.
Mm-hmm.
They only put up like the 450 newest episodes
which
or whatever.
sucks. And we have appealed to SoundCloud, but they don't seem to get it or give a flying F. And so we are not pleased about that. So that's why we may make a change.
We may move to a different host.
But whatever we do won't cost anything, whatever. But if you want to hear those old episodes, those are up on the SoundCloud site.
Yeah, but you have to go directly to SoundCloud. They don't show up on any of the RSS apps.
Just hit SoundCloud, Tom Shattuck's Burn Barrel, and you'll see that channel, and it's fascinating. So there's that. And is that it?
That's all the things, I think.
That's all the things. So where do you want to start today? Among other things, George Washington University, GWU, I call it, Alice, is changing because the logo is a colonial. The team is called the Colonials. So if you go there, you're a colonial. They're changing the team and the likeness. So the name is going away. George Washington University, because it's exclusionary. It's not inclusionary. It's not inclusive enough. So, and it's haters because he was an old white guy. So the team logo is going away, and the name Colonials is going away, they said, at George Washington University. Now, it seems to me that, going on that logic, a lot more things have to change.
I would say so.
The fact that they're named at George Washington University, and that's what's problematic, right? Colonist George Washington. This is absolutely a prime example of progressives going after the most sacred things, so that if they can erase this one, then all the stuff that's less sacred is easily knocked out. So erasing George Washington University, the next logical thing, of course, is getting rid of the name George Washington. You can't have it. You make his name a slur. That goes away. And then, Alice, what's going to happen, undoubtedly, how problematic is Washington, D.C.? You got two baddies in there. You have the guy who ate slaves and started the slave trade and ate natives in the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
Columbus, that's Columbia, and George Washington, who was an evil slave master in Virginia. And that's all he did. That's it. That's all either of them did. Columbus ate natives in the Caribbean, and Washington enslaved people. So that's all they did in their lives. Has to be reduced down to that. So they're going to be gone. My biggest problem with this is that it's so incredibly stupid.
Right.
But we're supposed to. This is dumber, of course, than monkeypox having to be changed because it's offensive to monkeys or whatever. And Lizzo apologizing, as a fat black woman, apologizing for saying spaz. This is all the same psychosis happening.
Yeah. Well, as a graduate of a high school where the mascot was the Minutemen, I assume that's not long for this world either. How can you be the Minutemen? Weren't they violent and oppressors and colonizers and stuff?
Absolutely. Minutemen didn't just muster to kill the English, which is of course good and encouraged, because those are bad. Those are bad Northern Europeans. Minutemen mustered to fight.
Yeah, I mean,
First
many of them,
Peoples.
including George Washington himself, were. I mean, he wasn't a Minuteman, but many of the Continental Army were had previously served and had military experience in the French and Indian Wars. That's obviously not going to fly. How can you have that group of people as your mascot at your high school in what's a very woke town now? And I mean, not only that, but we've learned from the 1619 Project and Pulitzer Prize winning author Nicole Hannah-Jones that, in fact, America was founded in order to preserve slavery. So, like, how does 1776 and the Minutemen in particular, and Lexington and Concord, obviously, one of which I hail from, how can you possibly square that with the 1619 Project and that view of U.S. history? You can't celebrate that.
Right. And as you know, Ibram X. Kendi was just on with Joe Scarborough today talking about being excited that his curriculum, his book is going to be curriculum in schools. So that's only going to reinforce the fact that it's being taught as fact. All this stuff is fact now, and that is just life.
Tell everybody why you wrote the book.
Well, I wrote the book because the more that I researched this issue about race and children, the more that I continued on as a father, the more I realized that kids are actually the most vulnerable to racism.
Yada, yada, yada. So now they're getting their books on how to be an anti-racist 5-year-old.
When he says kids are the most vulnerable to racism, does he mean that kids are more racist?
Yes.
That seems like a weird take to have.
No, there's all sorts of white supremacists in kindergartens. Absolutely.
I mean, like...
He said more problem to racism. In other words, and he goes on to say, in other words, light colors are good, are positive, and then black is dark and mean and bad. So that's it. That's how we all get indoctrinated into the kindergarten clan at that young age. That's how it happens. But this is all reinforced and all reinforced. Here's Kamala Harris today at the National Museum of Asian Pacific American History and Culture. What do you think this museum is going to highlight?
This is a story about heroes who shaped our nation for the better. From the South Asian Americans who helped transform farming up and down the Pacific coast, to the Japanese Americans who defended our freedom during World War II, to the Chinese American garment workers who marched through the streets of New York City 40 years ago to win better pay and benefits for all workers. This is also...
No, that's 30 seconds in.
Okay.
30 seconds goes to the positive stuff. Now we go to the real reason for this museum.
Also, a story about some of our country's darkest moments.
There we go.
The Chinese Exclusion Act, the internment of Japanese Americans, the murder of Vincent Chen, discrimination against South Asian Americans after 9/11.
First of all, what the hell is that? When was the discrimination of the South Asian Americans after 9/11? Where was that? Who was, what, I was around for 9/11. I'm pretty sure I was here before and after.
Wasn't there like one Sikh who was murdered?
I believe that most of the discrimination happened on a very special episode of The West Wing, where a bunch of, not knowing it then, Trump fans went after Sikhs.
And today's epidemic of hate, which is fueling violent acts against many communities, including...
Are we still at the museum, ma'am, or no? We were talking about the Chinese who built the railroad a minute ago, and now it doesn't feel like we are anymore.
The AA and NHPI community. Because you see, this is also American history. And we must teach it as it really happened. so that we can learn from our best moments.
Yes, we get it. And from the worst moments, which is the ones we're really going to learn from. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. These people are just, it's just simply, it's so wonderfully obvious that this is just simply trying to destroy every single institution. And you had one about the, no, I don't want to go for it. The Miss Universe thing about thinking menstrual health is only a niche topic for women excludes transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people who have from conversation. This is from the Miss Universe thing. So there you go. That's right. Everybody does it. That's nothing to do. Women aren't women anymore. That's fine. That's fine. It's whoever we say are women now, and now that's the new truth is that. So that's where we are.
I'm hopeful. I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's say that might be more accurate. I am cautiously optimistic that we may have hit peak insanity. I'm hoping here that we may have hit peak insanity. So, I mean, there was this piece in The Intercept this week, too. Did you see this one? The piece is called The Elephant in the Zoom.
I think I did.
Meltdowns have brought progressive advocacy groups to a standstill at a critical moment in world history. So they're upset that the insanity among progressives is now so great that it's hobbling conservative groups. Hobbling
conservative or progressive?
I mean, sorry, progressive groups. Sorry. It's hobbling their activists, their progressive activist groups, because they're caught in these weird cycles of recrimination and calling outs and all these things. So, like, listen to this piece. Everyone acknowledged Zoom was a less than ideal forum for a heartfelt conversation on systemic racism and policing, but the meeting was urgent, and a little more than 2 months into the COVID lockdown, it would have to do. During the first week of June 2020, teams of workers and their managers came together across the country to share how they were responding to the murder of George Floyd by police in Minneapolis, and to chart out what, if anything, their own company or nonprofit could do to contribute toward the reckoning with racial injustice that was rapidly taking shape. On June 2, one such huddle was organized by the D.C. office of the Guttmacher Institute, the abortion rights movement's premier research organization. Heather Boonstra, vice president of public policy, began by asking how people were finding equilibrium. One of the details we know because it was later shared by staff with PRISM, an outlet that covers social justice advocacy and the impacts of injustice. She talked about the role systemic racism plays in society and the way that their work could counter it. Staff suggestions, though, turned inward, PRISM reported, including loosening deadlines and implementing their work deadlines.
Right.
That's what the Guttmacher Institute could do to help solve systemic racism, was they didn't have to get their work done on a timeline anymore. Loosening deadlines, implementing more proactive and explicit policies for leave without penalty. Staffers suggested additional racial equity trainings, noting that a previous facilitator had said that the last round had not included sufficient time to cover everything. With no black staff in the D.C. unit, it was suggested that Guttmacher do something tangible for black employees in other divisions. Behind Boonstra's and the staff's responses to the killing was a fundamentally different understanding of the moment. For her generation, the focus should have been the work of the nonprofit. For her staff, the question was better answered at home first. What could they do to make Guttmacher a better place? Too often, they believe managers exploited the moral commitment staff felt towards their mission, allowing workplace abuses to go unchecked.
So how millennial is this?
So it goes on. The business is run by an
Workplace
Afro-Latina woman. But this is like they're doing this in offices. In any business, like we just saw it at the Washington Post, too. If you give these people an inch, they will run wild and just go crazy and destroy your organization. You can't run a business that way. Nothing works this way. And so basically, have you heard of the Kraken exchange?
No.
They're a crypto exchange.
Oh, okay.
And the New York Times wrote a big piece about how their CEO, who's like libertarian minded, just told people to pound sand, basically, if they didn't like his free speech policies in the workplace. So they wrote a big piece about it. But he had a a tweet thread where that I think it's like more CEOs need to do this. This is Jesse Powell of Kraken Effects. We recently attempted to summarize what the culture has been in our company over the past 11 years and what we hope it continues to be. We had a few heated debates, and it turned out we have about 20 people out of 3,200 who are totally not on board. 60% of those have been with the company for less than 6 months, so no biggie, except 20 unhappy people can sap the productivity out of another 400 with little effort. It basically works like a DOS attack. How did this happen? Lots of hiring fast without enough emphasis on culture and mission fit at a time when crypto was super hot. Tons of amazingly talented people were looking for a seat on the next rocket ship, not realizing it's more of a roller coaster. Great talent, bad fit. When things were rosy, everybody got along. When things started to look grim, sensitivities and misalignment came through. People focused on minor slights, first world problems, rather than our big, important mission to help billions of people. What were they upset about? DEI, Silicon Valley's version. Pronouns, whether somebody can identify as a different race and be allowed to use the N-word, whether differences in human sex exist at all, being respected and unoffended, being harmed by violent words. First world problems. We've got people in 70-plus countries speaking 50-plus languages in the company, trying to build products for people in 190. Differing perspectives will be shared. That's diversity. It's not always easy. You've got to be resilient, humble, open, and highly tolerant of differing norms. I entertain debate for a bit because I'm open-minded. I can be convinced. Teams should have input into policies. Problem is, I'm way more studied on the policy topics. People get triggered by everything and can't conform to basic rules of honor debate. Back to a dictatorship. Then it's about silencing people. Funny thing is, the biggest activists have the most myopic view of the world. They don't realize how discriminatory they are to others. You want to be inclusive by asking an ESL, that's English as a second language, Saudi candidate his pronouns and gender in a job interview? Most people don't care and just want to work, but they can't be productive while triggered people keep dragging them into debates and therapy sessions. The answer for us was just to lay out the culture doc and say agree and commit, disagree and commit, or take the cash. Unfortunately, that's not enough for everyone. Someone's likely been sharing internal chat in breach of their NDA devoid of context with a journalist who we can expect to publish a hit piece in the next few days. I just want to say we welcome all and don't believe the news. We're going to keep building and hopefully do a better job of filtering up front. I think we've developed some really thoughtful policies that might not appease the woke activists, but work for the other 99% of the world. So I'm hopeful that more companies will have the guts to do things like that.
I love it. Back to the dictatorship. I love it. I love it.
To say, like, you few little triggered people are dragging down our entire company culture and trying to destroy our organization with your petty squabbles and first world problems. And, like, we can't operate this way. It has to be, and let the progressive institutions, like the pro-abortion institutions, drag themselves into oblivion with this craziness. And, people who actually want to build things and do things need to purge people who do this to businesses from their organizations, or you're not going to be able to get anything done.
Absolutely, I think that's lovely to hear, and I would love to just be a fly on the wall during the firings. So a couple of weeks ago, do you have anything else you'd like to? Because I have one more topic before we move on to the chat.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You didn't do the border patrol yet, did you? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Alice.
Sorry, I just wanted to remind you in case you forgot. I'm sorry.
I'm going to do the border patrol now. I was going to set it up with a couple of weeks ago. You heard Peter Ducey asked Karine John.
There would be a conclusion to that review within weeks.
Yeah.
So why is it taking so long? And is there any urgency given the fact that the administration is now preparing for the arrival of potentially new surges on migrants?
No, it's a very good question. I don't have an update on that. Department of Homeland Security, that's where you mentioned Secretary Mayorkas, that's where that review sits. As soon as we have an update, I promise to share that, or they will share that. That would not come from here. I just don't have an update, but I understand the question.
James, will you tell Cyril that we're in the podcast and Mommy will be there in a few minutes, okay? You know what he wants.
I know what he wants.
Yeah. My son is yelling from the downstairs bathroom, waiting for his mother to Wipe him.
Okay. I'll be right there.
Okay. No, I'm not blaming you, Allison. Okay, so this is that right there.
I'll be right there. We are almost done with the show.
Is he on fire or in the bathroom?
I don't know.
Okay. Nice to see you. Thank you. Okay. So as it turns out, of course, it's been Fox News has broken this story that the Border Patrol people who didn't do anything wrong, who Mayorkas admitted didn't do anything wrong, who we all saw the video didn't do anything wrong, who Biden accused of strapping people, are now going to be disciplined administratively for some administrative thing. So it's not criminal, but they're being disciplined for a phantom fraudulent event that the Biden administration made up, that Psaki made up, that a bunch of Democrats made up, in Congress made up, saying that it was all like watching runaway slaves being whipped again, saying they whipped. And so here's Biden when asked about this by a real peach of a reporter.
Mr. President, you said on the campaign trail that you were going to restore the moral standing of the U.S., that you were going to immediately end Trump's assault on the dignity of immigrant communities. Given what we saw at the border this week, have you failed in that promise? And this is happening under your watch. Do you take responsibility for the chaos that's unfolding?
Of course I take responsibility. I'm president, but it was horrible what to see, as you saw. To see people treated like they did, horses barely running them over, people being strapped, it's outrageous. I promise you those people will pay. They will be, an investigation underway now, and there will be consequences. There will be consequences. It's an embarrassment, but it's beyond an embarrassment. It's dangerous. It's wrong. It sends the wrong message around the world. It sends the wrong message at home. It's simply not who we are.
He's sending the message to Mayorkas that you better find this as a punishment.
Right.
We're acknowledging, we're saying
these people embarrassed me in front of my progressive activist friends like AOC and Bernie, who want open borders, and
And listen to part of what Mayorkas says.
Just to go back, please, to the images of these mounted Border Patrol officers. You said on Saturday, or rather on the 20th, to ensure
the Homeland Security Director.
Ensure control.
That's Peter Doocy, but the Homeland Security Director is going
to. All of the horse, long reins are used. The person who took these photos of the Border Patrol agents says, I've never seen them whip anyone. So why is the president out there today talking about people being strapped?
So let me correct the statements in your question, if I may. It was on Friday. No, if I may. It was on Friday when I was, actually it was on Monday, I believe, when I was in Del Rio on the ground, and I made the statements without having seen the images. I saw the images on the flight back, and I made the statement that I did with respect to what those images suggested. The horses have long reins, and the image in the photograph that we all saw that horrified the nation raised serious questions about about what occurred. And as I stated quite clearly, it conjured up images of what has occurred in the past. Let me finish. There's also...
So the charge is now that them having reins conjured up images of what has occurred in the past.
We took a misleading picture of you that conjured up an image of something else that you had nothing to do with, and so now you're in trouble for that.
Because it looks like a racist chasing down a runaway slave, because Cori Bush said it was, that we're going with that now. That's what happened, and we're going to discipline the person. Let me tell you one thing else. I can't do much to the Republican Party. They don't really care about me. But if the Republicans win the House and the Senate in November, and when they're sworn in January or December, whenever they are, and the new session begins, if impeachment is not item one, I will just certainly never vote for another Republican, and be happy to use my not formidable clout to disparage them at every move. They need
kidding.
They need to impeach the bleep out of this president, and they need to tear asunder Mayorkas and everybody else in charge of this criminal behavior, this slander, not to mention all the other stuff that they've done. That needs to be job effing one is impeach the bastards.
There should be a bunch of things in the articles of impeachment. One of them should be this, for punishing federal employees who are just doing their jobs because you think they made you look bad. There should be, and one of the items should be the Afghanistan withdrawal and the way that was handled.
And the misleading explanation and cover-up, etc.
Right. We should also have cover the fact that the Biden administration admits that they knowingly attempted to suspend evictions after having been told that it was illegal for the CDC to halt evictions.
Right.
I could go on. There's 1,000 things that they should be in trouble for.
All right. Let us move on to more fun things, Alice. It is time for the chat.
Let's go.
Those were the days, my friends. I thought they... Oh, by the way, do you know that I am now dating somebody new?
Who are you dating?
I'm glad you asked me that, Alice. Because you are looking at Mr. Myra Flores.
Mr.? Oh, you are Mr.
I am
Myra
Mr.
Flores.
Myra Flores.
I thought she was a woman.
Who won the special election, the beautiful
She
Republican.
is really pretty.
Won the special election in a historically 4.5 decades Democratic district, which is not a good harbinger for the Democrats, but it's wonderful. All right. You ready, homie?
Let's go.
Fried biscuit, what it is, Tom, what it is delicious. But more importantly, very more importantly, it is raw dough, biscuit dough, put it deep fried. Delicious. Heaven on earth. Delicious. Staple here in the Hoosier State.
All right, but is it something? Can you dip it in something? I'm a little worried that if it's just deep fried biscuits, I mean, I don't like dryness at all. Hopefully, there's something to dip it in. I'm listening.
I'm sure you can get some toppings or something.
I'm listening.
Corona finally got me, Tom and Alice.
Uh-oh.
It's Danny. Just got back from 10 days on the road, including 5 in Las Vegas.
Oh, man.
Horrible place.
How do you know it's Corona, then? Maybe it was any of the other unspeakable events you were at, Danny.
Apparently, my 2 shots and my booster unionized like a bunch of baristas. Went on strike. Let my defenses down, and Corona got me. So all I could do is lie here and listen to episodes of Burn Barrel and my old Supertramp records. So appreciate the entertainment. Hope all is well.
Oh, poor man. I hope you feel better. What did the unnamed person in my life take? Paxlovid?
Paxlovid.
Get some of that, Danny. Sorry about that, but you're in good company. Anthony Fauci has COVID as well.
He does too?
He does. What was I telling you? Oh, you didn't know about the Border Patrol thing.
Somebody recently told me they knew like a big family group of 24 people who went on the cruise, and 10 of them came back with COVID, even though everybody on the cruise is like required to be fully vaccinated and all this stuff.
My goodness.
This one goes out to the lovely Alice Shattuck.
Oh, wow. Wolfman Jack Ellis. Van Halen? Hot for Teacher? Is that what it is?
I don't know.
I would think so. But would you even know what Hot for Teacher is?
No. Sorry.
Are you a teacher?
No. Well, I guess I'm a homeschool teacher.
Oh. I think that's it. Sit down, Waldo. Means nothing to you, does it?
Nope.
Nope.
Nothing.
We're coming! Hold on!
We're almost done with the chat. Have you no respect for what we're trying to do here?
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey.
That Rodney Dangerfield clip you played towards the end of the show was not from Easy Money, and it was not from Back to School.
Really?
I'm certain of that. I'm not sure where it's from. It's obviously one of those mid to late 90s atrocities that Rodney released.
Like Ladybugs.
Before he shuffled off his mortal coil. Thank you.
Huh. Well, hold on. Do I still have it?
I think it was in the chat, wasn't it?
Do I still have it? But I think it said Rodney on it. It was labeled, thankfully. Good job labeling, by the way. Let me see if I can find it. Burt Reynolds. Why is it gone?
It's got to be there.
Santa Monica Pike. Stephen Hughes. Where is it? Come back, Rodney. This is ridiculous.
Okay, let's move on.
This is important, Alice.
Okay.
Who is it? Uh-oh. There's swearing going on down there, Alice.
Hey, guys.
No, it's not
I don't want to miss the chat chat. Can we...
Who is it?
It's right. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'm seeing the big boss, Mr. Mullen. My promotion is in the bag. I can hear those wedding bells now.
It sounds great, Chester, but I've heard it all before.
And Matthew and I.
Oh, you're right. I thought that was the woman calling him Theodore Mellon. You're right. Good point. I don't know what it is. Okay. Here we go.
Hi, BBs. Les again, my second call.
Oh, I guess I should start with this one then.
Hi, BBs. It's Les. This is the first of maybe more call-ins today because you have been killing it in your last several days of your podcast.
Thank you.
What touched me to my heart today, Tom, is how you said your dad would tolerate nothing. Your identity to your dad is what you've achieved and how you've worked. And that touches me so much in the context of your yesterday's podcast about these children and young people who are being indulged by their parents. These children and young people are just saying, well, I've decided on this sexuality, on this sexuality, on this gender identity, and this gender identity. And you played those audios, and I'm like, well, where are the parents? Where are the parents who are indulging this? And I maintain, which I've spoken to you both about before, this is some kind of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. The parents are so obsessed with their own social credibility.
The parents are encouraging
that they're taking their children straight down to the devil.
Well said, Leslie. I'm sorry, Leslie. I'm just running. We're running late here. Let me get two more, and then we'll go. We gotta go, unfortunately.
Hey, Tom. Have you ever wanted to be fired from your job? I got a retweet for you. 25% of all adult women are currently on medication for mental illness, which is quite scary, because that means 75% of them are running around untreated.
Guilty as charged.
Absolutely.
Totally untreated.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
As a fat, white, cisgender male, I think you should present yourself as demi-glace, and your pronouns should be Scoodle and Zeppeli. That's how to handle all of this.
I love it. I love it. Well said. Now, we've got to bolt because my son is shouting at his mother to wipe my butt. Quote.
Okay,
so,
I'm coming.
Here we go. We're coming. Hold on.
No, we're not. I'm
right.
coming.
Although when you're not here, he does it. I'm the guy. So.
Sorry for going to work. I apologize.
Take him with you tomorrow.
Okay. I'll enjoy this at work. Anyway, thanks to all of you for listening and bearing with us through me not uploading videos and Patreon listeners getting screwed over by Tom and just all the because you screwed them out of their thing. Anyway, we will see you tomorrow and make everything right.